The fifth session of the Ecowas Parliament has a new leadership to pilot legislative activities of the community for the next 4 years. Election to fill the leadership positions held after the President of the Republic of Niger, Yusufu Mahamadou, signed the act awarding the speakership of the Ecowas Parliament to Sierra Leone. Speaker of the Ecowas Parliament, Sidi Mohamed Tunis, addressed parliamentarians shortly after his election.
Mr. Chairman, I am particularly proud and grateful for the arduous duties I have been elected to perform by the choice of this noble Parliament. I avail myself on this customary and solemn occasion to express the gratitude which your confidence enthused and to acknowledge the accountability that has been bestowed upon me. I am immensely grateful to the people of Sierra Leone through whose representatives we are nominated to serve the Community Parliament. May I also thank His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, Dr. Julius Maada Bio, the Honorable Speaker, members of the Sierra Leone Parliament, and the people of Sierra Leone for the historic Monrovia endorsements upon which we premise our quest to assume this high office. Thanks to members of the Sierra Leone delegation to ECOWAS Parliament for the support and uncontested nomination to occupy the Speakership of Parliament as provided by law. I also extend warm and heartfelt gratitude to all the great sons and daughters of West Africa who are members of this Parliament for the warm reception and fortitude I have seen so far as we begin this journey. Honorable members, distinguished guests, these words of appreciation will amount to nothing if I do not recognize and express the depth of love and appreciation I hold for my wife, Honorable Mrs. Nabila Tunis, who has remained my trusted friend, strong supporter, advisor, and critic for over 23 years. I also sincerely appreciate the Secretary General, John Azuma, and the entire parliamentary staff of ECOWAS Parliament that worked so hard to ensure this smooth transition. While the magnitude of your collective support convinces me that no show of gratitude is adequate enough for the honor you have conferred upon me, I am admonished that the best return I can make is to zealously dedicate my humble abilities to your service and that of the community. Dear colleagues, distinguished guests, as provided by Article 28 of the Supplementary Act of 2016 relating to the enhancement of powers of Parliament, we have gathered here to perform a sacred ritual which births a new community parliament, refreshed and strengthened by the optimism, idealism, and patriotism of a transformative vision. May I pay special homage to the chairman of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government, Excellency President Mamadou Issoufou, for whom I carry a great depth of respect for convening this first session of Parliament. Your Excellency, I express my sincere gratitude for the warm reception and the hospitality shown as usual by the people of Niger to our delegations. Sincere gratitude is also extended to the President of ECOWAS Commission, His Excellency Jean-Claude Cassebro, for the very delicate role played in ensuring that the procedures as required by law were executed to ensure the complete success of this transition. Honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, having completed the validation of the mandate of all the members of the Fifth Legislature, may I welcome you, dear colleagues, to our community parliament. As we comfortably enjoy the pleasantries that come along with this achievement, I wish to quickly point out that the ECOWAS Parliament is not just the most democratic of the ECOWAS institutions and a representative forum in the region, it's a space that embraces the most diverse ideas that truly reflects the wishes of our communities. As such, it is my hope that our deliberations and recommendations during the life of this legislature will clearly reveal and tackle the burning issues and will have tremendous impact in our region, on our governments, and on our people. It is expected also that our thinking, wisdom, and vision set the standard for cooperation, development in the Ecowas community, particularly for the good of our people. Honorable members, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as we look forward to an ambitious and eventful fifth legislature, it is still more important that we soberly reflect on the sacrifices of our predecessors and the greatness they all brought to this parliament. In terms of growth and vision in the past decade, which is inevitably linked to the commitment and dedication of all the forebearers before us. We are very proud of the services of these great sons of West Africa. Today, I stand in humble appreciation to all the honorable past speakers for the endurance and passion with which they conducted this office and ensuring that it occupies its rightful place in the sub-region and beyond. They fought a good fight. They laid a solid foundation, and it is now incumbent upon us to continue to propel this parliament to nobler heights. Distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I pledge myself to emulate these good steps. May I kindly request that you please rise and join me in giving a minute of applause to all the past speakers of the Ecowas Parliament for their dedication and service to the region. Their Excellencies Professor Ali Noum Diallo, Honorable Mahani Usman, Senator Ike Ekremadu, and Honorable Mustafa Seselo. Honorable members, distinguished guests, we are fully cognizant that assuming this position invariably means both responsibility and hard work, knowing fully well that it is bestowed on me for a stated period in accordance with Article 24(2) of the Supplementary Act of the Enhancement of Powers of the Ecowas Parliament to, amongst other things, effectively direct the business of Parliament and its organs and represent this body in relation with other Ecowas institutions. It is now proper for me to briefly explain the principles of action by which we shall endeavor to accomplish this circle of duties. In administering this office, we shall seek to foster cordial relationships with ECOWAS institutions regarding the extent of the authority that has been entrusted to us. We shall preserve the harmony that currently exists in our administrative structures and take steps to further cultivate coordination on fair and honorable terms. Mindful of Article 2 of the ECOWAS Protocol relating to the mechanisms for conflict prevention, management, resolution, peacekeeping, and security adopted in Lomé on 10 December 1999, we shall diligently work with the authority of heads of state and government and Council of Ministers to ensure that our sub-region is safe, secure, and prosperous. Over the past 2 decades, ECOWAS, working with other global institutions, have done a lot to keep the peace of our region. Peacekeepers from our nations left their families, served, and in several instances fought and died to protect vulnerable populations of our community. They have spent a lot of resources on peacekeeping operations, and the trend continues today in certain parts of our community. The responsibility is ours to jealously protect the peace we enjoy today and work tirelessly to bring to end instabilities in our region. We shall endeavor to deploy long and short-term monitoring and observer missions, especially as we prepare to host a flood of elections in 4 of our democracies this year, namely Guinea, Cote d'Ivoire, Niger, and Ghana, and to continue monitoring the recently concluded elections process in Togo. Working along with all of our friendly governments, it will be our sincere and constant desire to ensure that the rights of our citizens, which are consistent with the protocols and treaties we have signed up to, are respected, and that they enjoy to the fullest the benefits of this rich land God has blessed us with. Honorable members, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we shall assist the ECOWAS Commission in its integrated economic activities by providing the much-needed oversight in the areas of industry, transport, telecommunications, energy, agriculture, natural resources, commerce, youth empowerment, and monetary and financial issues. In recent years, we have adopted reports from member states and have seen how each state is making frantic efforts to attain the microeconomic convergence and undertake key activities under the Ecowas Monetary Cooperation Program. Working with the Ecowas Commission and other regional institutions, namely West Africa Monetary Agency, WAMA, West Africa Monetary Institute, WAMI, UEMOA Commission, and the Ecowas Bank for Investment and Development, EBID, we shall act more aggressively to ensure macroeconomic developments in the member states. Let me also state that during the fifth legislature, economic issues, especially poverty eradication, rising inflations, and high cost of living that have overwhelmed our states will be at the top of our agenda and undertakings. Honorable members, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Articles 11 and 17 of the Supplementary Act of the Parliament provide a framework for Parliament's consideration of the community budget. Working with the Administration and Finance Committee, AFC, and all stakeholders, Parliament must exercise democratic oversight to make sure that the Commission and other institutions and agencies, including this very Parliament, deal properly with economies entrusted to our care. As budgeting is a key pillar of policy and development and accountability in our region, and with a unique system of institutions and relationships between different levels of ECOWAS, we shall ensure in the exercise of this advisory role that the community's budget be dedicated to programs and projects that impact citizens at grassroots level. We must pay closer attention to the performance aspect of budgeting, that is demonstrating to stakeholders that ECOWAS resources are being used effectively to achieve results, and that these results are of benefit to our citizens. Enhancing transparency and accountability has been at the heart of our approach as we review country reports of member states and programs of the ECOWAS Commission. If ECOWAS states and governments must be accountable to its citizens and donor partners, the process must begin with ECOWAS institutions themselves. There is more to do to increase accountability and transparency in ECOWAS. All monies spent must be scrutinized, and ECOWAS institutions must be run as efficiently and effectively as possible. Transparency, openness, and accountability go hand in hand with progress and prosperity to build a stronger economy, a stronger society and security, and opportunity for all. Honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, against this front, I herewith propose the establishment of Public Accounts Committee, PAC, at the ECOWAS Parliament with a core mandate of reviewing audit reports submitted by the Commission aimed at creating greater transparency. This is a proposal intended to lay the basis for restoring financial integrity, accountability, and public confidence in ECOWAS institutions. The PAC, when established, shall give effect to financial management that places a greater implementation responsibility with managers and makes them more accountable for their performance. The committee shall, amongst other things, be the protector of public monies entrusted to our care. This is in compliance with Article 7C of the Supplementary Act relating to the enhancement of powers of the Parliament, which states that Parliament shall exercise parliamentary oversight functions over the activities of program implementing bodies of the community and adopt the appropriate resolutions. Dear colleagues, distinguished guests, today we make the argument that now, more than ever before, is an opportunity to address the issues of migration, human trafficking, free trade, and basic human rights. These sectors require our full attention, and there could be no better time to have them addressed than now. It is, however, sad to know that despite numerous endeavors by the ECOWAS Commission, Parliament and regional institutions are boosting trade and free movement across our borders, which inevitably eradicate poverty and raise standards of living, the finding of non-compliance by some member states with the ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme, ETLS, is persistent. We must commit ourselves to removing barriers to hinder free trade and movement. While underscoring the need to protect our borders, we must also explore avenues that facilitate cross-border activities. With This will integrate more freely and prosper economically. Notwithstanding the challenges of migration and security threats, free movement is more than a fundamental right established by the revised treaty. It is a living reality enjoyed by millions of our citizens, and we must work within our powers to secure these rights. Therefore, we should use this medium to commend the authority of heads of states and governments and Ecowas Commission for the positive steps taken towards studying the letters and spirit of the Protocol on Free Movement. I commit to you Parliament's support in all mediation efforts aimed at resolving the border closure situations that currently exist between the Republic of Nigeria, Niger, and Benin. We appeal to all parties involved to make compromises and allow the spirit of African hospitality prevail in resolving all contending issues of this all-important subject. Dear colleagues, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, among the most pertinent issues that concern us and our community at large is the issue of terrorism. Terrorism has caused major havoc on our sub-region, with Mali and Burkina Faso being the hottest spots and Boko Haram activities in parts of Nigeria. As a result of the waves of growing terrorist attacks, many innocent people are losing their lives. Our economy has suffered, and most important of all is the fear that it has created in the region, posing a serious threat to free movement of people and free trade. I therefore admonish all member states to exert every bit of our efforts at stopping these heinous activities of crime and murder and strengthen our countries by mobilizing our resources to tackle these barbaric acts. We cannot fold our hands and watch evil men perpetrate harm on our people. We must increase information sharing, enlighten our citizens, and raise their consciousness towards it. I applaud the authority of heads of states and government for the commitment which emanated from its September 2019 extraordinary session on terrorism in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso. It is my optimism that the re-evaluation of our regional counter-terrorism strategy highlighted in that session will yield the much-needed results as we strive to protect our borders. Honorable members, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, in recent years, ECOWAS, Parliament, and regional organizations have built unique and complementary relationships that have strengthened and deepened across a wide spectrum of activities, including peacemaking and crisis mediation, peacekeeping, and humanitarian assistance. We have experienced economic growth and maintenance of peace as a result of our increased partnership. I am confident that we shall continue to work together, bringing better coherence and effectiveness in our joint efforts for peace and security. I am also confident that our partnership with you, our foreign partners, will be dynamic and self-renewing as we respond to the changing demands, priorities, and specificities of our exceptionally promising region. Honorable members, distinguished guests, the integration of gender perspective into our mainstream politics and conflict management is key to designing an inclusive and effective peace-building efforts of ECOWAS Parliament under our stewardship. Further working with the ECOWAS Gender Center and civil society organizations, we shall seek to explore avenues to build local capacity of women's groups and networks in peace-building and conflict resolutions. We shall also endeavor to identify and remove obstacles to women participation in mainstream politics, peace-building and mediation activities in ECOWAS states. We have spent decades talking about the importance of gender equality. And while we talk, the situation of women and girls in ECOWAS states is at risk of further deterioration. We need an accountability framework that ensures that we all live up to our commitments to solve gender issues, in particular promoting women's access to resources, strengthening their economic capacities, improving the feasibility of their contribution to the regional economy, and ensure equal access of women to basic social services. At this Parliament, we are extremely impressed over the manner in which members of ECOWAS Parliament, Female Parliamentarians Association, ECOFEPA, has evolved. We have observed their commitment to making sure young women in our region are impacted and challenged to aspire for greater things. dear ECOFIPA members, I stand here today to affirm my commitment and that of this entire Parliament to supporting you in all your undertakings. I shall seek to build consensus which shall ensure that your programs and activities are adequately funded. And I also hope you will expand your membership to include female staff of the Parliament. We appreciate what you do for this Parliament and by extension, our region. Honorable members, distinguished colleagues, as we gather here today, we face a global challenge with the outbreak of coronavirus disease. As of this moment, there has been confirmed cases in 3 of our states, namely the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Republic of Senegal, and the Togolese Republic. The World Health Organization's report that as of the 3rd of March, there were 90,893 reported cases of coronavirus. There were reported cases of coronavirus globally, and 3,110 deaths, and there are still reports of new cases following this update. I remember how the world worried about Ebola virus disease that affected West Africa greatly, and especially for the thousands of our citizens who died and health workers who sacrificed so much in the fight against Ebola. Interestingly, this new virus is exhibiting increasingly complex mode of transmission, signs, and symptoms that require robust response. We call on West Africa Health Organization, WAHO, and all governments to employ mechanisms that increase our abilities to prevent, and in the unfortunate event, respond to any further outbreak in our states. We also express deepest condolences and sympathy for the horrific loss of life and the physical and psychological damage caused by the outbreak of the coronavirus disease, mainly on the People's Republic of China and other states around the world. We express solidarity with the Chinese and all those who have lost loved ones or have otherwise been affected by the tragedy, including other nations of our global community. We commend the efforts and honor the sacrifice of men and women of all governments, especially the government of People's Republic of China, for their immediate response to the outbreak. We are convinced that with our resilience and joint efforts, this pandemic will be history. Honorable members, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, in June 2007, the Ecowas Authority of Heads of State and Government adopted the revolutionary Ecowas Vision 2020, aimed at setting a clear direction and goal to significantly raise the standard of living of the people through conscious and inclusive programs. Paramount, amongst others, was the goal of transforming Ecowas from a body of states to a community of people. It's high time we took a deep reflection and evaluate how far we have come in realizing this vision. We must ask ourselves, are we now truly a community of people? If the answer to this question is yes, we must build on the gains. If the answer is no, we must evaluate our shortcomings and chart a new course. It is now time that we initiate a dialogue of all stakeholders to set a new vision for our community that reflects the change in time and the realities of the day. We must all remember that integration is not a sign of weakness, but the path to mutual coexistence as brothers and sisters. Let us explore what opportunities unite us instead of overstressing those which divide us. Let us formulate serious and precise proposals and policies for the good of our community and the generations after us. Honorable members, distinguished guests, in line with the objectives for which this Parliament was founded, as enshrined in Article 4 of the Supplementary Act, we must all make the ECOWAS Parliament relevant to all the people of our sub-region, Africa, and the world. This requires that we inspire the broadest possible public understanding and support. I am confident that this legislature, under my leadership and with our collective efforts, will continue to contribute to standard setting and formulation of policies and protocols to bring the ECOWAS Parliament closer to the people through effective, dynamic, and meaningful communications that has relevance to the public and which strengthens their sense of ownership and support for this parliament. We must never forget the huge advances we have made over the past decade. Ecowas is more free, fair, and prosperous as a result of our collective efforts. We must ensure that these gains are distributed equally and that they never reverse. My sincere hope for the fifth legislature is that we will not only present positive and inspiring country reports followed by robust debates, but we will witness tangible benefits to people's lives. That is why during the lifespan of this legislature, we shall put great efforts into ensuring that we see concrete actions to make this parliament more effective, transparent, inclusive, accountable, and relevant to all people everywhere. I believe we all agree that we need to listen more, act more, and to communicate better. We cannot forget that the hopes and fears and dreams of approximately 349 million people rest on our shoulders. We must summon the passion that first moved us to go into politics and diplomacy and live up to the wishes of our people. Make every opportunity count. Honorable members, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, one of the cardinal objectives of the fifth legislature is to work towards the evolution of a set of dedicated members of this parliament. We are aware we have duality of membership, as all of us are first members of our national parliaments before serving in the Ecowas parliament. Much as this arrangement has its advantages, it equally has disadvantages. The most obvious being the significant commitment that makes members too occupied at home, sometimes at the expense of the regional parliament. During the current legislature, we shall undertake studies to see how best this issue can be resolved. One likely solution would be the conduct of direct elections into the Ecowas parliament. Honorable members, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude by expressing my heartfelt gratitude to His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, the government, and the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for the sustained support and friendship. We are grateful for the continuous commitment Your Excellency has shown to ensure that this parliament functions effectively. I also again thank His Excellency President Julius Maada Bio, the government, and the people of the Republic of Sierra Leone for the trust and confidence laying on me. I promise never to betray that trust. Honorable members, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, permit me to close with these beautiful words I so cherish from the ECOWAS anthem. We shall progress happily in ECOWAS, peace and unity and social justice everywhere. Cultural integration and liberty we declare. Together with our resources and might, we will keep our health, wealth, and further bright. It is no mystery we've made history. From the seashores to the desert, through the savannas, each and every land, all will hand in hand. Every progress happily in ECOWAS. Long live ECOWAS, and may Allah bless us all. Thank you. Merci. Obrigado.
Thereafter, he called on qualified member states to nominate representatives to the position of deputy speakers.
I have a seconder to that nomination.
Nigeria being the occupant of the first deputy speaker, the contingent of Nigeria, consisting of the members of the Senate and the House of Rep, have agreed unanimously to nominate our deputy speaker, Ahmed Wase, as the first deputy speaker.
Honorable Wase has just been nominated to serve as the first deputy speaker. I hereby submit that the Honorable Wase for the position of first deputy speaker, ECOWAS Parliament. Honorable Wase, can you please come up?
deputy speakers to be elected. One is gone already to Nigerian, and 3 more.
The leadership in place, parliamentarians spoke on issues of interest such as gender equality.
Most of the time, the nomination is done by the leadership, and if the input is not there, then it becomes difficult. In fact, we need to thank the deputy speaker who insisted on just the 2. You know, when we were coming, we had expected that we will be more than that, but you know, we were advised individually. So it was only when we got here that we found out there were only 2 of us out of a 35-man delegation. That's not good enough, especially because Ecowas believes very much in parity. They even have a gender unit which takes care of the entire sub-region and insists on what should happen in other nations. And Nigeria should not lag behind. Nigeria should not be seen as always flouting the laws. Nigeria should not be seen as always wanting to do otherwise. I believe the time for us to change is now. We need to lead by example. Every time you talk, they say Nigeria is a big brother. They were going to protest against us. We had to mobilize support so that we could at least let them know we didn't have too many people in the legislature. But whatever, Nigeria should not have brought less than 5 or 6 women to this legislature.
Well, it's not so impressive, I must admit. Most countries came with even a female on the delegation. Nigeria with 35 members came with just 2 females. We're talking about 30% representation. Ghana with 8 members came with 1 female. Liberia with 5 members came with 1 female. So we hope that as we move the parliament forward, that we can look more into female representation at the level of the parliament, because they bring a lot. They bring a lot of value to the table. They bring a lot on the debate, on the table of the debate, and then they seek the welfare of the people. So we hope that we can work more in attaining the 30% threshold for female representation at the political level.
The 4th assembly is finished. Now we're going for the 5th assembly. The difference is for the parliamentarians, but you know, every country must bring some of parliamentarians. Then some country change the parliamentarians, but someone leave, get the old parliamentarians. If you want, there are now plenty of new parliamentarians in this 4th assembly. And for the committee, but you know, yesterday we elect the vice speaker. 4 vice speaker, first the speaker and 5 vice speaker. Today we are in the committee of selection to select some parliamentarians for the chairman of committee. For the 4th assembly, we have 13 committee, but now we have 14. Then every country can get a chairman for 1 committee.
First of all, we try to have the 30% of representation, the women's representation in the parliament, and then in the commission we try to see with ECOFEPA, which is the organization among the ECOFEPA, the Ecowas. So we try through the ECOFEPA to force the men to give more seats to the women. So I think that through the ECOFEPA we will achieve this to have more seats, more rights for the women.
I don't think I agree entirely that women are absent. You have one of the deputy speakers is a woman, and you have a sizable number. We're not up to the number that we expect them to be, but you see, this is a gradual process. The idea of having women representation is a gradual process, and it's one that comes around or should come around as a result of orientation and education. It's not something you do by fiat, okay? So I think we should be educating the women and the men too of the need to have more of them in the parliament. So that's the idea.
Like in Nigeria, we have two men, and we give them the leadership. One is the chairman, one is the vice chairman. So in our own case, we are not only 30%, we are 100% gender sensitive. The issues were raised. The challenges is that in some of the countries, you don't have to up to 30% membership. Like Nigeria, we are 35, but we have, I think, two women on the team. You can't give what you don't have. And so those are the areas. But where they have, we definitely took a note of that and did the right thing. And Ecowas is particularly very sensitive to considerate of this issue of gender. We are working on that. And we are also working on the issue of balancing between the Anglophone, Francophone, and the Lusophone. But we don't want to make it the big issue. And that's why Nigeria let go. For example, Nigeria that have 35 delegations have only 2 chairmen, while some countries that have less than 10 delegations have 2 chairmen. You see, if you look at it in terms of equity and justice, there's a need to look at it. I raised it, but they are used to it. But they promise, and the speaker said he's going to consider that in other appointments. For example, in the last, in the Fourth Assembly, the Bureau positions or the leadership position of the committees are 52. Francophone took 29, and the Anglophone we had only 18, and the Lusophone had 10. You see, there is imbalance, big imbalance there. This time around again, they have, I think, 29, still they maintain 29. And the Anglophone, we have only 22, four numbers up. And the Lusophone still had maintained their last position. If you see, the balance is not, it's not fair. But then, that is not the important thing. The membership, every member of the Ecowas Parliament belongs to at least a committee. And that is how we feel that has been taken care of. I think this 5th Assembly is going to be far an improvement and better in terms of performance than the 4th Assembly.
Areas that generated concern were youth representation and appointments into committees.
You know, on the day of the inauguration, something happened. There was an interim committee made up of the oldest person and the youngest person. And one of the younger persons was, is from Nigeria. Was born I think in 1985, and the other one was born in 1984. So we have younger people too. Again, like the women, not up to the size or the percentage that we expect, but they are there. And I think as time goes on, especially for Nigeria that would now have reduced the age for contesting of election, we'll see more of young people in this assembly too.
As you can see, I emerge as the youngest member of the Ecowas Parliament, which I serve as a symbol to youth. With a lot of youth, seeing my emergence is an encouragement for them to know that their mandate can never be taken away from them by the ages. So I advise them to come out and participate. When you ask of a better nation, a better country, a better leadership, you are the leadership. So I usually tell the youth that you cannot keep on complaining at home without participating. Like my governor usually say, the most beautiful woman, in beauty pageant, the person that emerged as the most beautiful woman may not necessarily be the most beautiful woman, but those that show interest to contest. So I believe if the youth come out to contest, we will have a better Africa, a better nation. We see the youth are becoming wiser and are becoming, instead of them saying the youth are the leader of tomorrow, we now see that the youth are now the leader of today. So I'm part of the youth and I'm representing them. I'm not just the only person. We have other youth who emerge in the National Assembly, in the 9th Assembly. So we expect more of the youth in 2023.
For us as Parliament, we'll ensure that youth development and youth empowerment will be given the attention. But having said that, I think the youth in West Africa and Nigeria in particular need to be more active or more participative. They won't give you until you take it. And you as a youth will have to be involved in politics, not as a political thug or not as a political agent, but as an activist. And I am looking forward to seeing that the youths participate more. I was a student activist throughout my life, and I ended up now being a senator, moving up. I went to House of Rep. I wanted to be a chairman of the local government. So the youth must participate. Nobody will give you anything on platter of gold. You have to struggle for it. You have to work for it. And that is why I'm urging the youth to participate. You still have young members that are able to make it, even when you say it's difficult or when you say politics is monetized or it's expensive. You can see here, even in the parliament, we have a member. I don't think he's up to, he's more than 30 or even up to 30, as the youngest parliamentarian who held the temporary position before the election. And we also have the oldest here. I'm surprised. One member was born in 1944, and he's still very strong and being a member. So I urge the youth to participate actively, not just being used as thugs, not being used as party agents or party this, but they should participate. The Constitution has made the provision, and in fact, age has been adopted, especially in the Nigerian case. The Constitution has been amended to allow youths to have the age requirement for Senate and House of Rep have been reduced. So this is now a chance. I know that people will now say, oh, it's only people with money, but I'm from a very poor background. I'm here. I participated in the election in 2003. So it is not only about money, but you have to be active and you participate.
The sub-region is challenged right now with a lot of social political issues. As you know, starting with free movement, we are looking at the closure of the borders, for example, between some of our sister republics, Nigeria, Benin, Niger. We are trying to see how best we can resolve that situation so that our people, because when these things happen, we up there don't suffer. They're the common people, the ordinary people that suffer. So we want to see how best we can resolve the situation, address the concerns of the three nations, and then move forward. We also have some major political issues in the region. The situation in Guinea-Conakry, where the current president is seeking a third term through a referendum that he seeks to hold. Fortunately for us, the situation in Cote d'Ivoire, where President Ouattara now said he's not going to contest. So there are issues in the region that we need to resolve. Terroristic attack continues to take place in Burkina Faso. Mali is going for parliamentary elections. So the movement of our people in moving from one country to the other without being harassed or molested by gatekeepers or at the different borders by customs officials, those are things we need to look at. But currently what is more touching and what is more demanding on our plate is the issue of the coronavirus. This virus is now separating the world. As you know, last night the U.S. government made a statement, placing travel ban on people from Europe. Who knows what's going to happen next? And if those superpowers are having so much headache in resolving the situation, what's about third world countries, So we're very concerned about it, and we hope that this situation will be put under control by our health authorities as early as possible so we can begin to look at the bread and butter issues of the people of our community. Amongst us as citizens of the community, we're able to work together to apportion committees to different countries. In Ecowas, we don't worry about Francophone, Lusophone, Anglophone. We see ourselves as members of one single community. So the issue of the selection committee in making sure that countries were represented adequately was key on our agenda. Nigeria, as you know, have 35 members of this parliament. The parliament has just 14 committees. There is no way we can apportion committees to commensurate with the numbers of Nigeria. But again, Nigeria being the country with to whom much is given, much is expected. They were very dynamic. They were very understanding in working with smaller countries so that we can accommodate each other. At the end of the day, I see the battle or the glass as being half full with achievement of the selection committee. So today, that committee will be reporting to plenary, where we expect an endorsement from plenary so that we can begin the work of the community.
What then should the ECOWAS community expect from the 5th session of the ECOWAS Parliament?
The speaker that emerged has laid out the plans for the next parliament. It's a laudable program. And all of us agreed with him that there's a need for more unity amongst the African community, the West African community. And he laid out quite a lot of things that he expected we should accomplish during the next 4 years of the 5th Assembly. And I think, going by what he said, I mean, he targeted the economy, the issue of IDPs, the issue of technology, the issue of, and all of that. And if you look at it, those are the issues that will make our community a better place. Because as it is, everybody is on his own. Even though we've been having ECOWAS, we've been having the parliament for some time. This is the 5th parliament. But I think we need to rejig what we have so as not to be paying lip service to this idea of a West African parliament, ECOWAS parliament.
I think that this inaugural session will set up all the rules and all the parliamentarians present here will work hard to define the rules that we're going to work on it all the 4 years, the coming 4 years. So the more important thing is the community, the West Africa community, how ECOWAS community we could work together and develop the free moving between each country, people and goods, and how the connection with each country will work very easily and very nicely for the interests of the population of ECOWAS.
First of all, we have to thank the Almighty who have granted us the life and also the wealth and the health to be here. We want to also be thankful to the leadership of this country and the entire members of the ECOWAS Parliament, staff and parliamentarians. So the 5th legislature has started on the 9th of March by inaugural session where new MPs have shown in to serve the community and the interest of the community for the next 4 years. We hope that given this responsibility based on trust and confidence based on us, we will live to expectation because we know that the expectation of the community on the ECOWAS Parliament are huge, but we'll try to do the best of ourselves at the maximum of our capacity. Among those, the biggest challenges of the 4th legislature were the free movement of people, goods and services and the single currency, that's the eco currency. We'll try before the end of this term to do our best in order to see that those things are things of the past. So we have come with that courage, we have come with that enthusiasm, and we hope will be to expectation.
We'd like an overview of how the session has been.
Well, it's been a great session. It was seamless, almost like the fourth legislature, but a lot better because there has been cohesion. What has happened is that we've been inaugurated, and after inauguration, it was very easy to pick the new speaker, and then, of course, we had some horse trading on first vice, first deputy speaker, second deputy speaker, third deputy speaker, and the fourth deputy speaker. But eventually, we were able to also go through those without too much rancor. Now, we've been trying to put together the bureau, put together rapporteurs, put together chairmen and their vice, so that the committees can be populated. That's what we intend to do. As soon as that is done, then the opening session is over. We now go for plenary, adopt them, and we go back to Nigeria to hold the next plenary, which will be a major thing. And by then, we would have had a list of to-do events which will come on the floor.
It's a process. It's going to take time. Like he said, you can even start with the speaker or the bureau, and then gradually over the period. Because when we begin to do that, you're talking about major financial implications. So those are things we need to look at. And I believe that once we address the financial implications, we can look at it. But for now, the Secretary General, who has vast experience in parliamentary matters, have suggested a committee to begin, an ad hoc committee, to begin looking at those issues and see how best we can begin to gravitate or to migrate from where we are to another level by having direct representation at the Ecowas Parliament, like they do at the European Parliament.
We must always have a consensus. That's the beauty of ECOWAS. They tell you when there is no consensus, you cannot go on. We seldom vote. The reason is simple. It is built on consensus, on mutual understanding, and that is what we follow at every turn. And I believe that's what we should do across the sub-region. When there is consensus, where there is mutual agreement, it makes life better, it makes working together easier. Don't forget that we're three diverse people, especially as language is concerned: Anglophone, Francophone, and Lusophone. We usually don't understand each other, and so it becomes difficult to know that this person is speaking for you, except there's an interpreter. But when there is mutual respect and mutual agreement, it makes life easier, and we tend to trust each other better than normal.
What we expect differently is because we are in a peculiar situation. Unlike over the years, the challenge of existence is staring all community members in the face, particularly internal security. So what we intend to do is to truly examine this bond that brought us together vis-a-vis its effect on our individual sovereignty, the protection of lives and property in the various member states of ECOWAS, because the challenge of security has heightened such that we will take a look at the free movement treaty, part of the component of the treaty that was signed. How does it affect? What are the security and economic implications on the lives of member states? This is a huge topical debate, even as I speak. Take, for instance, Nigeria. The free movement clause has been grossly abused, such that the people we have within Nigerian state now, largely who are responsible for the insecurity, we are told, are not from Nigeria. So how do we address this challenge? This issue, and a couple of others too, will form our focal points.
We have just come together as a community, and that community is centered around West Africa. The community has been there. The issues of the community has also been there. Trying to pull down the barriers, the invisible walls, have also been a process. So we are at the fifth point using the very parameters that have defined the various sessions. We are the fifth point. It simply means that there has been progress all this while. For it to have been sustained up to this point, whatever progress that has been made, it will be imperative on the fifth session to build on same. Because before the invisible barriers, before the walls were there, some kingdoms, some entities had interacted amongst themselves, and the interactions had been very useful to not just themselves, but to the entire area they come from, and properly defined now, West Africa. So we have to build on those things that we've been able to as a people and move beyond where we are, looking at the issues of trade, looking at the issues of agriculture, looking at the issues of health. Together, we move, and with the momentum that we will generate, definitely we will appreciate and do better for our people centered around West Africa. We build these invisible barriers, and we also have to break the barriers. And breaking the barriers has to be a win-win situation for all of us. In life, there is always competition, and that is what makes life very meaningful. But competition has to be done within the ambit of the law. And law itself, to me, is a living thing. That is why laws will grow. That is why laws will be weakened over time. That is why laws could be sick and they need surgery. You look for how to adjust, amend those laws to suit the present challenges and the present realities. If there are legal barriers, definitely the parliament as a community will look at them and advise member states on how best to tailor what has been in existence to remodel them towards achieving a more integrated West Africa, a more economically viable West Africa, which would be beneficial to both Nigerians living and doing business in any part of the community. For who I am a man that is sensitive to his environment. I have migrated to an extent, using those words in quotes, from the environment called Nigeria, coming with the benefits that I have acquired in Nigerian parliament, to a larger environment called West Africa. I will remain who I am. I will speak truth. I will stand by the principles that will guarantee that there will be a very prosperous West African community. Given that background, we are challenged to the extent that we depend so much on each other. And depending on each other means that we would be a lot more participatory in everything that borders on ourselves, be it health, be it security, be it education. As a person, with the level of experience I have garnered, coming from Nigeria, which is definitely the more in terms of everything. So we have to play the brotherly role, taking everybody along.
This is the Fifth Assembly. We thank God that the Fifth Assembly has been successfully, as you said, inaugurated. And I want to say that it is now moving from a Francophone leadership to Anglophone leadership. And we are part of the Anglophone leadership. So we want to make sure that the Fourth Assembly to from the fourth to the fifth, because the previous one was the Fourth Assembly. And as you can see, we started work without hitches. Where areas of disagreement we discussed, we had consensus, and we have made tremendous progress. As you can see, the adoption of the two reports did not generate any controversy. It did not take time, and we did just very small adjustment here. In fact, it's not even adjustment. We just swapped Nigerian position from public account, the senator who was in the finance, because two of us as senators would not be fair to remain on the finance committee. So we swapped this. One of the senators goes to public account and a member of House of Representatives comes to the finance committee. That's the only adjustment that was made. Well, let me say that the closure of our border is still temporary. We took that measure in order to address some very, very critical economic challenges that is attributed to smuggling. And we are reviewing the situation. Nigeria, that means Nigeria is reviewing the situation. And the president said last time that the border is not permanently closed. There are rules of engagement, the Ecowas protocol of movement and all that. Once the other countries abide by it, the border will be open. We are working on free trade, free movement, and the like. But the closure of the border is to take care of certain goods that are banned, but that are still imported through these borders. And that's what Nigeria is against. And as we said, the economic difference is very clear, especially like one of the major and critical commodity that we are against its importation is rice. But you can see that rice alone, our people have now gone back and resorted to eating our rice. Nigerians must eat what they produce, not people bringing in rice from all sorts of sources that you don't know. And that is what Nigeria is trying to address. As soon as these issues are taken care of, the borders will be open.
ECOWAS states should come together to ensure that this pandemic is taken care of at the various levels. We should be treated as a kind of a stream of water. There is no way you can afford water from flowing to other areas if it is not clean. So we should ensure that every member nation has a good hygienic system within their area, and also ensure that we support ourselves. It is no time for us to say it does not concern my country. We must work together as a team. It's a general thing now. It's a worldwide phenomenon. So we should ensure that this epidemic does not ravage us in ECOWAS. We know we are not as lucky as the European and the American nations where they have the facilities. And I believe God has been faithful to us. Probably there is part of our gene that is resisting it for now, because the number of occurrence in Nigeria and other West African countries is still low, but we should avoid the spread. We don't say that because we have a very few number now. People are coming into Africa. People are coming into West Africa. Many people are coming unchecked. We should ensure we increase the protocol at our borders to ensure that people don't just come in unchecked. Temperature detectors should be used. Sanitizers should be placed at every public areas within the countries, so that we ensure that we don't let this thing get out of hand within Africa. We don't have the capacity to deal with it when it becomes an epidemic. So that is why we should have a very good preventive measure in Africa and in ECOWAS countries in particular. It is very urgent for us to start taking all these precautions before it gets out of hand.
The first thing is that the ECOWAS Parliament itself must be abreast of the fact that there are a lot of challenges that we face today. And if you see from the various speeches that was given by the President of Niger and all the other principal actors in the Parliament, we have issues of security. We must be able to be innovative and work towards having an harmonized approach to tackling issues of insecurity, cross-country banditry and crime. We should also be expecting that the focus of having economic integration, especially that of the single currency, is approached in a very proactive manner, in a way that will allow for each member state to have its economy protected while still encouraging the integration among those countries, even when we adopt the single currency. Again, there was this issue of the health challenges that we have today, which is the coronavirus. We have to work together as a sub-region to ensure that we put in place measures both for prevention, detection and management of this disease. We can see the kind of havoc the coronavirus is wreaking on economies of nations that are even stronger than ours. So that shows that we have to really be on our guard, to put in measures that will allow all the 15 member countries to work together.
The community awaits in high expectation as parliamentarians return to their countries preparatory to the first ordinary session scheduled to hold in Abuja. From the ECOWAS Parliament, Vivian Idekbefo, NTA News.